Just going to make sure that we're all on Facebook here too. There we go. And we are on live. Hi, welcome to Debbz Den. Hi, welcome to Debbz Den. We are here today in the lovely city of Lethbridge. You are listening to Jess FM live on Facebook, YouTube, and on our website, Jess FM. And anybody else who shares, thank you, and thanks for the likes. Today I have a special guest in. It's kind of a Halloween special. And and not only that, it's your birthday. So
that's why it's funny.
Yeah.
It's my shtick and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, definitely. And we decided to do something fun today. I'm an angel empowerment practitioner, so I study in the light and I study with angels. And my guest, Rebecca, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Well, how many Scorpios does it take to change a light bulb?
One.
None, because it's darkness, always darkness.
Oh, okay, well, so today we are doing the fun little thing of I've got my angel wings, and Rebecca...
I have my devil wings, we'll just say
she has her dark wings.
So
and
we both work the Lethbridge Handmade Market beside each other, and it's funny because her booth and her work is angel empowerment, and I tend to work with this sordid seeming subject of the occult, which is shrouded in mystery and darkness. So we are a little bit contrary to one another, but yet we get along like peas and carrots.
Was a little nervous for me at first, to be honest, because I am so in the light and so with angels.
And I have that effect on people.
Yeah, well, and that's one reason I wanted to bring Rebecca in, is because I think a lot of people are very curious about both sides, and I thought we could go through some things today, and you know, it's Halloween. Let's have some fun and then have some deep conversations. I know you're a huge intellectual person, so I enjoy talking with you, no matter if we agree or not. But so, can you just like introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are?
Okay, sure. Well, my name is Rebecca Johnston, and I go by the pseudonym or the pen name Sorer, which is part of a thelemic tradition, meaning sister in Latin, Iris E. I'm a thelemic practitioner. I like to do a lot of ritual magic. I study magic with a K, which was a coined term by Aleister Crowley. I go to the Lethbridge College. I'm a cultural studies major, but I joke I'm an occultural studies major. And eventually I'll move on to the university for what I'm not exactly sure. I play music and I teach the drums. I'm a percussionist of almost 25 years. I've played the drum kit since I was 11 years old. I'm nearing 35. I turned 34 actually this Halloween. And
young.
Yeah, I do take my blessings, right? I do take my blessings. And so Halloween is my birthday, and again, it is my shtick. I shtick to it. I'm a professional tarot reader. I'm interested in astrology, and just all sorts of things to do with religion and mysticism fascinate me.
Sorry, I was just going to share. Go ahead.
I also have a business called Nix Knox, which I read my tarot cards from, and that's what I do at the Lethbridge Handmade Market with this miss here.
That is, you know, I really like the handmade market. Jessie does a fine job of getting thousands of people to come out to the market.
Huge, yeah.
And I know that we're usually very busy. And you teach a class usually there also, right?
I've been doing workshops, which has been great because I know that there's a gaining interest. Like I read recently, and I've had this theory for some time, but it's real difficult to prove this statistically, that earth-based people or people that are spiritual and in this sort of realm of religion that's a little, that's evolving, that's not of the same nature of the traditional religions, is growing faster than almost anything else. I've had this theory, especially paganism and earth-based stuff. Yes. Just because, like, for example, we have a pagan cultural festival and it's widely attended. So there's enough interest that this is quite a cultural phenomenon. So I've heard that these these interests are growing more and more and more. And so I've been doing workshops. A little concerned there wouldn't be the interest, but surely it is there. So
yeah, I've been around Lethbridge for quite a few years, and
I've been here for a decade.
That's not bad.
Yeah. How long have you been around?
About 50 years.
You're from these parts?
Yes, I'm from here.
Okay.
And there has always been, well, for me, an interest in. I've gone through probably 16 different churches. And so I'm on a constant learning. I don't judge anybody. And on Debbz Den, I just like to remain open to all options. I don't follow one genre or whatever.
And speaking of which, are you familiar with the Unitarian Universalist Church? The UU Church?
No, I'm with the Lethbridge Spiritualist Church.
Oh,
so
okay. Well,
it's not a church. Definitely not a church.
You sound like a UU member.
No,
we're not a church.
It's a center. It's a center. And I know they are having a seance tomorrow night.
Well, they say about Thelema philosophy, I'm interested in, that it's philosophy for those who need it, it's religion for those who need it. Another system I'm interested in says it's the method of science, the aim of religion. So I'm open, but I used to be the vice president for Unitarian Universalist Church, and their whole policy is they are non-denominational, which means you could be agnostic, Buddhist, you could be Christian, you could be an Jack Mormon, it didn't matter. We accepted everybody. So I see more and more of that. More and more of this just doesn't matter what your beliefs are, just acceptance for other people and whatever it is they do. And that's so important.
I think it's important that we all find out who we are. And we all come from different places, but yet we all come from the same, is how I see it. Like I believe we all have spirit. How do you feel about spirit? Do you feel like we have a soul?
Spirit is fire, and it's...
We're going to have a lot of questions here.
Yeah,
so.
Like I sort of have these open concepts with terms like spirit and God, that it's holistic in nature. And so when we say spirit, I think spirit is fire. I think fire is light. It's all things color. It's what manifests, down to this plane, what we see. So, I mean, spirit is replete.
So, do you feel you have a soul?
I agree with that term, soul.
Okay.
I like that. I like being soulful. I dig music, so funk. I have funk and I have soul. I'm funky and soulful, yes.
So,
but to separate like spirit, soul, and those two terms, I've actually spent a lot of time writing about the differentiation, if you will, between spirit and soul. I tend to see them kind of more as like the soul is the you that may exist after death, whereas the spirit is almost how your ego manifests on this plane and in this form. That seems to be the loose definition I personally hold.
Okay. Mine is I believe that there's a light force within every single one of us. That is who we are. Is that we are the body, everything around. It's just stuff. Like, this kind of dimensional stuff. But I believe who we are is this little white light or little spirit that, when our body dies, it takes off.
There's a saying in mysticism,
goes through.
The body of light. The body of light.
Okay.
And I've used that term time and time again, growing your body of light.
Cool. Okay. So, and then let's talk a little bit about... what it is that you do. Like, you like your feathers? I have feathers too, mine are white.
Can I touch yours?
Yeah. No, just kidding.
Sorry, where were we?
I was asking you what it is that you do, though. Like that you do, you go to college?
I'll never tell.
Yeah. What are you taking in college?
I am a cultural studies major. They actually just got rid of my program at the college, and they got rid of fashion and Canadian studies as well.
What?
So I'm free to see my major out, but the whole fashion program is nixed, which means they're not even leaving one course in for fashion. They're taking out all the rooms, all the machines, everything. Canadian studies, very few people major in Canadian studies, so they're getting rid of that, and cultural studies, which is my major. The college is essentially becoming entirely vocational. So cultural studies just focuses on anything culture, so anthropology, sociology, religion. We do psychology, sexuality, aging. I'm doing art right now, which I'm loving. And so it's a lot of different things, but it's just kind of got me back to school. I dropped out when I was young, so I graduated at 32 and went back to school, and now I'm going to pursue university, and really, I love academia. I'm a huge fan. I don't know if I'll ever really stop going to school. I love it. I could keep going for a long time. So.
I'm an armchair scholar. I sit at home and I just study like nonstop, really.
Yeah,
and I'm interested in all fields of science.
Yeah, and you know what? I said I dropped out of high school, and I spent a good over 10 years of my life just independently studying mysticism.
Right.
So I got into, like, I knew about Wicca when I was a teenager. I saw The Craft, and I had this group, girlfriends, and we were really young and inspired by that. And it was what it was. But that
have any bad experiences with that?
Just that, I don't know if I want to share.
I've tried that, and I had some things backfire on me, and
I won't share that experience, but just that it stuck. Something about it stuck. There was nothing in my family, but something internally was even there before I learned about those things. Things you do in your bedroom when you're young, that you know that nobody teaches you, that you just know to do, seemed to develop in my interest that I'd find in the world as I got older. So, like I say, studying witchcraft, astrology was a big one. I got into that through Sailor Moon. I swear. And
I love astrology too.
I thought you were going to say Sailor Moon. But yes, astrology. And then later on, mysticism. Like, I spent 10 years reading a lot of books about the Golden Dawn, Aleister Crowley, just systems of magic and what that turn of the century movement was, with a sort of magical revival, and immersing myself in just art. I did some art exhibitions, and just anything I could to involve myself in group ceremonial practice. So I worked with a group called the Horace Mayat Lodge, doing a lot of globally concerned ritual for political purposes often, or environmental purposes.
So
I believe in political magic strongly.
Okay, so last weekend down in the States, they had a big Wiccan gathering to cast spells on Brett Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Because he got elected into the Supreme Court,
and that was actually interesting. There was an old group, I think in the 60s, they were called Witch. I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but they got together. I want to say it was in New York, maybe it was Boston. They got together and did a public protest, all wearing black and having protest signs that were witchy in nature, and their big hats, and it was a big deal. It was widely publicized, and you can find this on the internet.
Yeah, these guys were on Fox News saying that they were going to cast spells.
These new news articles about people doing this seem to be inspired by that movement. I don't know if they're familiar with the original witch acronym people that were doing this, but I mean, this has been done for a long time. There was the Nestle Death Curse, done by Hannah Haddix. Political magic is becoming, it really has been, I think, the core of esoteric practice for a long time, is if you find yourself oppressed or unable to do something about your political environment, and you can't, and activism is not, it can only do so much. You take it to another plane and petition that way.
I don't know. I'm just wondering, like,
cover all bases.
But I'm thinking,
as above and so below.
If things are happening as they should, then isn't magic a way of manipulating things?
Maybe. But what isn't it? What isn't it?
I know, intention, right?
And your feet on the carpet, manipulate something. Aleister Crowley's definition of magic, not to beat a dead horse, was the it was causing change in conformity at will. The art and science, I believe, of causing change in conformity at will. And if you really pick that apart, I mean, it's like you said, intention. It's everything.
It's intention.
He also said, and like I say, I'm a Thelemite, so I will refer to Aleister Crowley a lot, because though the man was flawed.
I'm going to ask you some questions about him, if you don't mind.
Sure, please do,
Okay.
because Google should not be answering your questions about Crowley. Yeah, so let's just go ahead with that.
All right, with Aleister Crowley, since you're
sorry, he was just saying you can't help but practice magic, so you may as well do it good, because everything basically is practicing magic.
Okay, I've studied a bit about Aleister Crowley, and I find that it could have been the start of the evolution of what's going on now, as far as spirituality, as in opening doors to dimensions that are causing things to go to you know, he obviously didn't worship God and Satan. I mean, God or Satan. What would he pick?
Well, that's an interesting thing because he was a philosopher, right? So, I mean, his work waxes verbose on these things, both in devotional ways and in ways that were taboo and challenging how people would, you know, spiritual norms of the time.
Okay, so
like this history is so deep. I could go on for a while.
Isn't he though known to be like the head of the satanic cult?
This is more or less a misconception.
From what I've understood,
so here's
he's
what
the head of
is.
the satanic
Crowley
movement.
was from a family that was quite well-to-do, is the impression I've gotten. A Victorian mother and a father who was a zealot. He was one of the Plymouth Brethren, and more or less his mom used to verbally abuse him, and she would call him the beast, the beast, but she'd discipline him. My goodness. And so when he got older, he essentially challenged any ideas that were of the Christian, I don't want to say mythos, of the Christian historical tradition. So, for example, he would call himself the Great Beast 666, and so,
I've heard him refer to himself. That's why I'm saying
and
this guy looks to be like the head of the satanic church,
right? But we also need to understand, though, that the Church of Satan is different. That was Eliphas Levi, and that was invented in the 50s. So he had nothing to do, as far as I know, with an affiliation with a satanic church. I don't know who started the satanic church, but it is different than the Church of Satan, which was invented. Actually, LaVey was a student of Crowley. So that came after Crowley. Crowley dealt with concepts of God and the devil, but he wouldn't have called himself a Satanist in as much as other people would have called him a Satanist. Okay. He would have seen Satan as an allegory for maybe evil or bad, but also for Pan, also for the Green Man, also for any demonized nature deity of a male, you know, of a male virile quality. So people, it's really easy to have the wrong idea about Crowley, because he not only was a man of his time, he was a bit racist and a bit sexist. He's one of those geniuses that, you know, like Charles Bukowski, raging kind of sexist drunk, but a beautiful, prolific writer nonetheless.
Okay.
So you got to kind of pick out what's worthwhile. He was flawed, but he also wrote reverently about God. He worked extensively with archangels.
There's all kinds of angels.
And he knew his Hebrew, he knew his Kabbalah, his ancient Greek. He was quite holistic in any of the systems of mysticism that he promulgated. It was a holistic system. It was not about devil worship. They might use pentagrams and stuff, but these things are...
Pentagrams, do sacrifices, those kinds of things.
Well, I'll tell you, for example, one of the things people would say about Aleister Crowley is that he was into sacrificing children. I don't personally believe this.
Not sure about that.
But I will tell you that some of his writings...
I know goats
did talk
like
about...
That.
Well, yeah. Some of his writings, we also do tend to eat meat on a daily basis, and none of those sacrifices are happening with any kind of reverence, which I find interesting.
I do pray over my food and thank it, though, like before I eat anything. Like,
people will diss on sacrificial ritual stuff, and I'm like, but you guys are slaughtering animals all day, every day with no sacrifice, no sacredness. So don't rip on somebody else for killing an animal and calling it sacred, especially if they're using it.
Well, you know, in the Bible, they sacrifice lambs,
we
right?
like to get real Hollywood about all these ideas, but the actual people...
I'm coming at it from a very open, just information is what I'm looking for.
So, for example, I have a great respect for the Voodoo culture, the voodoo culture, and they do sacrifice a lot. And I mean, personally...
Chickens and...
Yeah, and it's a culture that I have respect for. So, anyway, so with Crowley, they talk about him sacrificing children and stuff. I'm just going to tell you a funny little thing that seems so simple once you realize it, but until you hear it, it just can lend to that Hollywood fear-mongering. So there's something in one of his works that says in the Holy Books of Thelema, something about sacrifice a child before a goat is the best sacrifice. And what that was a blind for, at least many people say, is what he was really talking about was a metaphor for sperm for sex magic. When he said to sacrifice a child, what he was referring to was masturbation and the idea of jism and the idea of sex magic. So it's really easy to misinterpret that, but he would laugh in the face of people for thinking about certain things because he reveled. He reveled in blinds, and he reveled in playing with people and their misconceptions and their fear.
How do you stand on that?
On what is
on being rather the belief in who is Satan, who's Lucifer for you?
Melania Trump.
Oh, really? I think she's
Donald Trump.
Oh, I'm
no,
opposite there.
that's a compliment to Trump and Melania.
I think they're beautiful.
Yeah. And so I don't even know how to answer that question. When we say who, my mind obviously goes to this literal a person in a person's form, but I tend to
What if we step back in time? Like you said, you study culture, right?
Lucifer.
So if we step back out of our culture and go back a few hundred years.
Sure.
Or, we can do that? Yeah. So I'm actually going back into, I wouldn't mind going back in time to where do you believe that this Lucifer came from?
Well, if we follow the path of history from the Sumerians and go on and on, I find that everything is kind of an evolution, and at some point along the way, an assimilation of some other culture. So I do tend to think that some deities and mythologies, which I do consider the Bible a mythology, however, that doesn't mean it's not true.
Right.
I find that they are constantly adapting from something before that.
I agree.
So you can probably trace it back. So when I think of deity, when I think of any deity, so it could be, you could consider Lucifer a deity.
He was the top angel.
I just think of things like he would be called an angel. I think of the core of the word angel, the etymology and the language for the word angel, where that comes from, what angel means to me.
Okay, what is that then? What does angel mean to you?
Well, I'd have to look up the etymology, but
okay.
Angel is a term that we could also wax verbose about, right? Like a holy guardian angel. I could talk about what I think an angel is for quite some time, or what that term means to me, but the point I'm making is that it's in a sense allegorical. Any term, Lucifer, God, devil, all of it to me is quite a metaphor for meaning. So anything you could relate to about Lucifer, like fallen, like a star, like an angel, these are
morning
all
star
terms that you can use, but nothing to be taken all too literally, and yet not to be entirely dismissed.
Because we have no proof of anything, to be honest.
He's the underdog.
Yeah.
I've always had a bit of a soft spot for the one thrown down from heaven.
And I see it as we are all, like, I'm going back into the root races. Do you know about the root races? Be going into the Lemurian, like I think you mentioned, the Lemurian, the Atlanteans, the Aryans.
Sumerian, like the Mesopotamians, but
right.
But I pick up what you're putting down.
Okay,
sure.
So they all had their good and their bad too, right? And they had. I'm from what I've studied in the root races, before we had human form. I mean, back in, if you talk with the Hindu culture, how they have blue people and avatars, and a little bit of that. I don't know a lot about it.
I love the Hindu religion.
Okay,
it's so colorful and vivid.
Yeah, it is, and it's also, from what I have studied, the oldest known civilization that was before human bodies on this planet.
Not necessarily. There are reasons.
Humans as we know them now.
Hinduism is interesting because it sort of just cropped up out of nowhere. There was the other systems that were around before that really didn't reflect the Hindu deities that came up. It seems almost miraculous how detailed their system was and how incredible the stories were.
Yes.
Because there was nothing that predated it that I see in any of the, for example, Mesopotamian mythologies that were really so relative at all. But we do find that culturally the concepts of good and evil, like you were saying, they have their bad, they have their good, is quite different than we sometimes tend to intuitively think when we really go and open up the histories. Like, if we look at what death was to the Mesopotamians, they generally didn't see it as a very good thing. It wasn't like you go to this big heaven. It was kind of like this sort of limbo crap place that wasn't better than here. It wasn't a good thing. So,
what do you think it is? Like, what happens when you die?
Well, I do remember riding in the back of my parents' car once. I was quite young, and I had firmly decided in my head that I wasn't going to die until I figured out what that was.
Cool. I don't think we're ever going to die. I don't think we have. I believe in reincarnation.
Reincarnation.
I believe. Okay, hey, we agree. We agree. So we can agree on reincarnation, so that our spirit, that's the spirit, what I believe in, is that what carries on. When this body dies, we move on with our spirit. I believe we take lessons or whatever, reflections of what happened in our life. And then we're reborn into our life again. We're reborn again to try to learn our lessons. And I think that we will keep repeating what's going on, even though time is changing.
Absolutely.
I think we keep repeating and
Absolutely.
repeating until we find the cure for what we need to learn.
I actually have an interesting, I guess, that word is so overused, but a different view of karma. So people loosely throw that around than someone else might, in that we tend to think if somebody's done something heinous in this lifetime, morally quite wrong, for example, suicide, that in the next life they're punished for it. I have this personal idea that your next life will actually be less of a challenge. If you are a suicide bomber in this life, the next life you'll actually come back in a bit of an improved situation, not a worser situation, and the universe is actually kind and will lend a hand in your next life so that you can get back up on those steps to getting to where you need to be. And then, a lot of people sort of think, what's the point to that? Getting to where you need to be, what's the sort of end goal? But I think it's safe to say, if we let ourselves, there's very few living Buddhas. There's very few living actual, who will throw around the term ascended people or wise people that are at that bodhisattvic point. And so we can say what's the goal, but I don't know anyone that doesn't think or know in their heart of hearts that they could be better, that they could do more, that this isn't in every way morally, what they could be. And so that's the evolution, and it's all for a purpose, and perhaps at the end we go somewhere greater and simply merge, or perhaps we come back to step one again. Either way,
I think we go back to step one. I think that
I like a roller coaster.
When we die, what I believe, and from all of the people that I've interviewed with past lives, and just many of my guests that have been on, I believe, from my own point and my own absorption, is that when somebody commits suicide, they're not getting out of their problems. They are going to have to learn what happened, and then they're going to have another chance to get to learn that lesson. They're going to come back another life. Yeah. It's not like you die and
tells us it's a trauma that does. There's some trauma that sets in,
and it sticks with our spirit. And I think that if somebody has committed suicide, don't think that they're damned to hell for the rest of ever and going to burn in flames. I don't believe that.
I think that is just a metaphor for this idea that if there was something that caused such great struggle in this life that they could not cope, that in the next life, even if it's easier for them, the hell to me has always been a concept of what it really is, just to exist in one's own mind in whatever hellish state it would be. And even if I think in the next life it would be less of a hell for somebody that committed suicide, but it's still their own personal how they have to live with.
It depends on what the choices they make.
But I do think the universe has a great potential to be both cruel and kind, and we always want to kind of say, if we're kind enough, eventually all violence will be eradicated, but we don't seem to
will evolve.
Well, people think this way, but I seem to think that no matter how kind we are, there's never not going to be carnivorous plants, there's never not going to be panthers and things that feed on others, but doesn't mean that those beautiful animals still don't hold affection. It's so that we have to accept that there is dark and there is light, and that is the nature. It's never just going to go away because the light rules the dark. No more violence. That is a violent idea.
Well, and I see that also as that some people say there is no darkness, there is no hell, there is no evil. It doesn't exist. And I'm thinking, like, serious? Like, how can you say that? Like,
again, look at the president.
Well, you got to realize that when that guy was elected, he was 70 years old, 7 months and 7 days, right? And it says in the Bible that you would know who the coming Messiah is because he would build the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
you could put numerology into many things with Trump, with his birthday.
Does that put
everything.
Pink Floyd in Antichrist territory when they're like, tear down the wall?
Maybe.
Now I understand all the anti-rock and roll moms from that time.
Yeah,
it makes utter sense.
maybe.
Yeah, I can't say I get behind those theories, but I can.
I mean, and that's just basically looking at numerology and saying, what does his numerology say?
Do you remember all the stuff with George Bush? The same thing, though. Do you remember this? Where
I didn't do numerology back then.
And there was a bunch of stuff about W and the 6 and George Bush being 666 and his
Barack Obama's all 666. The night he was elected in Chicago, his home area, the winning Powerball was 666.
Yeah, I'd have to see the math on that one and why it matters.
Barack Obama, or ever how many names he uses, it all comes up to 666. Whatever names, if it's Barry or whatever his other names are.
I just have, I don't even see, to me.
Donald J. Trump comes to 888.
True, but so what?
Well, I like numerology, and
I mean, so do I.
And if you look at the astrology, the astrology
using,
charts also for Donald J. Trump say he is like a godsend.
Oh, you're pro-Trump. Oh, I see what's going on here.
Well, I'm just saying, look at some of the facts, and I know that it's really not.
Okay.
Popular, so I'm not going to say if I am or not pro-Trump, but I have looked at his astrology charts, I have looked at his numerology charts, and I've looked at what he's doing, and it's amazing what he's doing. So that's just, just looking at the facts, not putting any kind of anything into it. Just that.
To each their own.
Yeah, and I agree with that wholeheartedly, that everybody is allowed to have their opinion, and that's a good thing. And freedom of speech is got to be key to the Western civilization, how we have it. I don't think anybody should be suppressed. I don't think anybody should get in anybody's face and start screaming and yelling their point of view. I think that if you don't like their point of view, like with us, if we don't like our ruling government right now, we don't go out and get crazy. We wait till the day.
We deal with the political process.
Yeah, we deal with it. We complain at home quietly. We don't go in attacking people in the streets. But when it's time to vote, we go to the box and we say what we want to do.
But see, this is why I love Deb, because, like, for example, I didn't know that she was pro-Trump, which makes sense to me because I'm on the opposite end, so I wasn't quite connected. And that now I understand where you're coming from. But this is why, again, I love Deb, because we have totally different beliefs in a lot of things.
That's why we have the
But we will have conversations for hours, and we will never find a place of...
And it's mutual respect.
Boom. Like, we'll always find... I don't know, it's just wonderful. It makes me really happy that people can be different, but still be able to share the things that they have in common.
Right. And that's why we cheers when we've got something in common. So what are we doing here for time? I'm at 5:07. We have a half an hour, so we're good. I'm just going to go back up on my Facebook here, making sure I'm watching, and so I can see actually who is watching us.
I hope everybody's enjoying the conversation.
Yeah, I'm just going to share that. Right, just going to copy that post, and I just want to thank you all for being with us here on Jess FM. We are in downtown Lethbridge, and I'm Deb from Debbz Den, DebbzDen.com is if you Debbzy. My dad used to call me Debbzy Doo, so that's why Debbzy Doo. That's that was something that he always used to do, and that was always nice. And he's been passed now for a long time.
Well, let me ask you this: so when you did numerology on Trump, what system of numerology did you use? What do you like to do?
I just, do your numbers, put them in, and just see what come out.
What are your numbers? Like, what do you do? Like, D is 4?
Well, yeah, so A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wondered.
And then you just break it down into his 3 names, because he's, and then, But that's enough about Trump.
But that's one. There's different kinds of numerology, and that's like a basic one. A lot of people
it's a basic.
do.
It's a basic.
And what's cool is like when you get to 10, it's 1 plus 0.
Yes.
When you get to 11, it's 1 plus 1. So
and you kind of start over.
Yeah. So you get A through the 9th. It's and then when you get to 10, it's 1 through 9 again. So all the numbers are just reduced to one digit. You come out, you see what you get, and I've played with numerology a lot. A good friend of mine, Nima, she used to just call numerology play, and she'd say, you could just play for hours, and it seems arbitrary. One thing's 8, one thing's 7, but numbers hold great meaning, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It is.
And I like astrology too. So I haven't personally pulled his astrology chart, but I have looked at it with people who have.
And what was your sun sign again?
Mine, I'm a Capricorn.
And what was your
Christmas Eve is my birthday.
Oh, right.
Christmas Eve, 69.
And I'm Halloween in '84. That your big brother is watching me. So, do you know what your moon sign is, or your rising sign, or
no? I can't remember. I don't have it offhand. I have it. Yeah,
I'll pull it up for you. I'll send it to you.
Awesome. I love that kind of stuff. I have had my charts done before. I just don't remember it off the top of my head right now. So just going back, okay, there's another question that I was talking with somebody yesterday that kind of suggested that what if, like we were talking about curses and putting a curse on the American government, whatever, and
this is the fun stuff to talk about.
This is the stuff that we're getting into. How can you protect yourself against a spell? Like say somebody has property.
Throw and that property, get away from me! I love that one.
Okay, I saw it the whole yard, and and I've also with fairies was taught to actually pee on the corners of your property and claim your property with the gnomes and stuff.
It makes utter sense.
Yes, because then you're putting your DNA onto the property, and you're telling the little the gnomes and the fairies and everything and you have to explain to them that this is now my property. So you go and you pee on the four corners.
That's what the dogs do.
Yeah, it marks their territory.
What
basically.
Was the example you were going to give me? So somebody has a.
Okay, so somebody owns a house.
Okay.
And it is somebody else wants the house, like it was willed or nobody took care of it. There was no will, and somebody takes care of it. And anyway, what happens is somebody comes in and maybe hires a witch to curse people.
As it's a big cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, I do feel that somebody I know has had a curse put on them.
I see.
And I would like to know, how do you lift?
Let me tell you, it's a magical battlefield out there.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking, like, okay. And I've had this question a few times that people would want
I got lots
to
of answers
lift
for you. Yeah,
to lift a curse. How do you lift a curse against somebody you don't even know who it was that put it on you, but you feel and you've been told that somebody has put a curse on you, and your life's going to shit. Like you're losing everything.
If you know that for sure, like I got to put all these sort of like warnings or sorry, I can't think of the word right now on here, but. Don't do any of this stuff if you're not sure. When I say, there's a difference between somebody who cursed you. You better be sure. You literally need to witness them because you can't prove that kind of thing.
Right.
So one must be quite careful if they're going to be throwing magic out to somebody else.
Right.
Especially because you don't walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. You don't know what their intention was or what their life path was. There's a lot of people I know who firmly believe that the best way to do magic is not by being defensive or offensive, but literally just by being loving. Just send out a blessing, and it's all in your intention, in your heart. Like if you're sending back that removal of a curse idea with this energy of like away, you're only going to create problems. Whereas if you send out that energy,
doesn't that feed it?
To align, I just want this to go away. But if all your contempt for that person is going in there, no matter how undeserving you are, it's just that contempt's going to come back around. And hey, maybe it's justified, but that's just sort of the simple way of putting things. If you want to get into, you know what, your feelings are justified, you know somebody's done you wrong, and you want to get in there and you want to get your hands a little bit dirty, and as I use the word petitioning, to sort of say, here's what I want to manipulate the energy, here's what I'd rather have happening in my life, because I'm the creator of my life. They recommend certain things like a binding. A binding is often done with white ribbon, and all you need to do is as simple as it is, like in the movie The Craft. It's really that simple. Is I bind you so-and-so from doing harm against others and harm against yourself.
That's giving me shivers.
But that's a pretty loaded curse, right? Harm against yourself. Like, what if they nick themselves with the razor? You just got to know in your head what your focus is, right? Like when you say harm, what kind of harm do you really think this person's doing against people? So you got to make sure that your will is in a place of truth, is in a place of like, you know what it is that you're getting at, and you know what it is that you want. Another thing is just a circle of salt. You just throw a circle of salt and you just throw it counterclockwise, or you move counterclockwise. One of the best banishings that I love is called the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram. It's an old, it's done in Old Hebrew. It's essentially got a prayer to the Lord tacked on either end, God's prayer, the Lord's Prayer, but it's in Hebrew. And it works with archangels.
Not good at my Hebrews. My Hebrew's rusty.
It's all good. Most people are. It's
a little rusty.
But it deals again with archangels, with pentagrams of fire. But this is really good for poltergeist activity. Another really good one for specifically if you've got a curse against you, you're sure somebody's throwing down curses. Now, also, I think a lot of people are cursing inadvertently because it's all magic. You say F you to somebody. That's not just a curse word. We're throwing curses all the time. So,
now, this is somebody I think has been cursed financially. That somebody has hired somebody.
When somebody throws down actual magical practice, it's different.
Yes.
But on an esoteric level, we are cursing people, most of us, all the time. When we're pissed off at them, when we curse people, it's a magical world.
Careful
right?
what you say. Be nice.
Right. And so, or just be careful about what you say when you're not being nice, right? And so, and hey, I'm guilty too, don't get me wrong.
Full moon, we just had a full moon. I feel much better now that the full moon's over.
It was a good full moon for me.
Yeah.
Well, I just creativity came through. It was a good night. But this idea of somebody curses you, one of the most famous and I think the best way, if you know somebody's actually laid down some magic at you, you use mirrors. Oh. You take mirrors and you
now that's resonating with
that
me.
Person, you put it inside the mirror and you just say your stuff come back to you. Your stuff come back to you. And there's lots of other ways, like a popular one is black chicken's feet, like a black cock's feet, like a male. And so the black ones, and things about binding those feet with the picture of your, like the voodoo religion gets really hardcore into some, they call it sympathetic magic, but that goes a little further than just cursing. That's a very specific kind of reverse curse. It's not only reversing the curse, it's almost like a curse back. So there's a difference between binding, between like reflecting and sending back, and then sending out.
So I believe in doing the smudging with the sage and the sweetgrass.
Definitely smudging.
Yes, smudging, keeping your area clear.
The grass clean.
Yeah.
Right.
And I believe in the salting them around the rim.
And the chucking of the salt.
Yes, and doing that with intention, saying I cast protection. I have protection over my land. I have protection over my life.
By the way, Deb has done just one little practice for me. What did we do? We opened a vortex.
Oh yeah, that was pretty cool. The whole sky just opened up, and then all this big flock of birds come flying at us, and it was like, wow, that's pretty. And they all started coming right at us. It was amazing.
It was nothing.
It was fun.
We're just crazy.
Yeah, it was cool. It was like, especially when you go, okay, now open the light, and all of a sudden this great big opening in the sky, and the rays start coming down on you, and
this is why again I like Deb, because not everybody I can sit with is willing on a park bench to just say, okay, let's do this right now. Let's not just sit and have a conversation. Let's actually get in touch with the hallowed parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
And anybody that I've found that is in touch with their spirituality, they recognize that discipline and they're willing to create that space with anyone who wants to do it with them.
Right.
And it's a healing, wonderful energy.
So with the curse thing, my practice is like to do the clearing of your own property first, and then to put a shield overtaught.
I totally love shields.
I like using shields. Archangel Metatron is
shape.
Yeah, that too. But I do a shield above a below beside before within, the shielding around, and then I put a mirror over it. And so when somebody sends you evil or bad thoughts, it goes right back to them with love. And I send, rather than going back with the energy, because you know that when somebody's really angry at you and arguing with you or trying to cause you harm, and you turn around and look at them and say, I love you.
One of my favorite
it kind of cancels out their whole
is a person named
I
Genesis.
think that's a good cancel.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
Just to send it back with good intention.
That's what I said in the first place. Was a lot of practitioners.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
They don't even curse. They're just down to, you know what? I'm not going to throw any of that energy out, and I'm at this place myself too. I'm only going to put out my own magic that I tend to do is about me. It's usually more about me keeping that like smudging, like my own banishment for my own area. It's never really sending at or about somebody else to affect them in particular, because that's just not my practice right now.
Right. Well, and I also think that if you're willing to send energy out to somebody, you better be willing to eat that energy. That's the way I see it. If you're going to send out something that you never know if that person, never know if that person is more powerful than you. You don't know about their guides. You don't know about their history. Who's passed on their side? Who's protecting them?
There is so much to be said about secrecy.
Yeah. Yeah. That the word of just the more power.
There is
keeping it
truth, ipsos.
Yeah. And I do believe that people who understand that there is good and evil, I believe that they would be more powerful, because they have to be more powerful, because they have to balance, right? If I just believe there's only good in the world, it's only white, everybody in the whole wide world is all perfect, wonderful, loving souls, they just do bad things.
Hey, you know what? If you're in the darkness for too long, eventually that darkness is going to drive you absolutely out of your mind. If you're in the sun too long, you're going to get burned. You can be far right
have the
or
medium.
Far left. It doesn't matter. But not to be too vague about what we're talking about, but I've known people who claim to be so good that they were just not good people. But it was all about goodness, and it was all about, say it could be Christ, but they were not. They were judgmental or whatever it might be. But I don't tend to spend a lot of my time thinking about those things so much as I do dealing with. It's a popular Christian maxim to say that one's relationship with God is personal. And so when I think about curses or blessings or whatever you're sending out, no matter what's going on, the truth is between you and God.
I agree.
Right? Between you and God.
So, where are we?
We're in Debbz Den.
We are in Debbz Den.
Look at all those buildings down there. Yeah, Lethbridge sure is bright tonight, isn't it?
It is pretty nice down there, isn't it? It's a beautiful night.
Our large
here
city.
In Lethbridge, Alberta.
All of our
You're on Just FM.
Skyscrapers and apartment buildings.
We're on the way top floor.
Yeah, there's the giant red skyscraper behind you there. That's the famous. What's that tower called? Oh, we're just bullshitting you. Never mind.
We're just sitting here on our studio, and it's just a quiet little studio.
I just was really looking forward to getting in front of a green screen.
Oh no, we don't have that here.
No, I mean,
I'm just kidding.
Up here in this amazing
in our little tiny little loft.
That's right.
And we are right downtown in Lethbridge here.
The Towers of Ascension, that's what they're called.
Oh, that's another thing that I should probably mention, is that the Towers of Ascension, that's where we are. We're ascending. Just to remind you that if you've missed the Just FM, that we are now live on YouTube also. So we got kicked off for a few months.
Good for you.
Yeah, syndication or copyright, whatever.
Okay.
We try not to do that, but it happens. But we are back on now. If you want to go onto YouTube and look at Just TV, JESS TV, and with the little Canada flag, and you'll find us live if you want to catch us at any time. And if you want to share, you can share from YouTube. or you can go to the jessfm.ca radio app, and we have over 2.5 million subscribers there.
Awesome.
That is really, really fun.
Yeah, there's lots of people with great channels on Jess FM.
Yeah, and actually,
Megan Thiessen.
And Levi Cox. And,
yes.
The Catwalk.
Yeah.
And we've got Devin coming in right shortly after me, and they talk politics. So they'll.
Who's that? Devin.
Hartgraf.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a couple of guys coming in shortly after us here. They'll be in at 6 o'clock, and they talk politics.
Okay.
And so we don't get along. I'm just kidding. No, we get along great. I love those guys. They're great.
I can dig a good conversation about politics.
Yeah, me too, except for nobody agrees with me. But that's okay. So, I don't know. So, protection, right? Do you have a specific ritual for protection and energy that you use? Or are we going to do that in a meditation? We are going to have a meditation in the next few minutes here.
I do use this one ritual called the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram. It's been a staple for me for years and years. But there's also the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Hexagram, and then there's greater banishing rituals. I tend to be primarily like a hermetic and a student of the Golden Dawn. The Golden Dawn has prescribed rituals in it that deal with all sorts of different elements and things. I've also used protection rituals from Wiccan texts. It can go here and there. And I'm a big fan of Mayat magic. So for many years, I just adapted Sora Nima's eightfold banishment and the abridgment for that. So that was a really personal banishment between me and my magical mentor, Nima.
So when you do these rituals, do you do them by yourself, or do you, like you said, you have a group, or you do them by yourself too?
The group that I've been involved with is something that's online, which thank goodness for that, because people are at such a distance that without the internet we wouldn't have met or known each other, or been able to grow into every country of the world, more or less. So that was a group ritual that was conducted online once every new moon and other times as well. So we would be able to get people's results from that ritual, their experiences, all in a conglomerative reported at generally the same time, so that we weren't aware of what other people were doing while they were doing it, to see what layover happened. But I did used to do group ritual circles in Lethbridge, and that was pretty successful, though most of the time I work by myself. I find that to work with the community is a sort of obligation that a practitioner sort of has. However, there's certain times and places for that in both life and actual setting. So that is okay. Since we brought that up anyway, we're down to 5 minutes. So I think this has gone by so fast, and that was fast.
It wasn't that fast, yeah.
But I wanted to do a meditation.
Yes, and I always ask my guests. I always give them that opportunity to do like a 5-minute meditation, and that's where we're at now. So we're down to that last few minutes, and
so I'm going to guide one. This is kind of one of the first really fun meditations that I did when I got into Thelema. I don't know where the person who taught me this garnered it from, but I'm just going to kind of deliver it in the same way. So what this is designed for,
I'm gonna drink water here first,
is to find your astral form. So we know there's astral projection, this idea anyways, that somebody could literally manifest themselves somewhere else, and somebody could see them in a physical form and think they're actually there when they weren't actually there. That's not what I'm talking about, okay? So just whoosh, that's in another pile. I'm talking about astral travel, okay? So there's this idea that there's an astral plane. The astral plane is the mental plane, and it's different from this plane, okay? It's the plane of, let's say, dreams and imagination exist at most times on this plane, the astral plane. So let's think of this astral plane. Just keep it in mind. And we're thinking of an astral form. So this is personal. If anybody wants to comment if this is successful for them, this is going to be a shortened version. But let's just close our eyes, take a couple deep breaths. Be comfortable where you're at. Sit cross-legged if you want to. Sit upright. We're just going to go in and go out. Just want you to concentrate. Just want you to feel the walls of your imagination. What's going on inside your head? Listen to my voice and come with me. you start to see a mist around where you know your body is right now. You're not where you are. The walls are fading. You're just sitting suddenly in blackness. You're elevated or lowered, wherever the place may be, to a place that is not the place you are, but a place that is on another plane, the astral plane. And as this awareness sinks in this concept, you start to see a fog or a smoke. Could look like vaporizer smoke, could look like incense smoke, could look like clouds. But suddenly the environment around you that has become dark and is filled with this ethereal smoke, or however you see it. I just want you to sit with that for a moment. Let the fog or your visual thicken until you can see a stairway. Take those stairs. Take that elevator. However you need to get up. Go into it. All the way in. Keep going in until it's so dense, so clear, so thick that you can see this in your imagination and walk through it. Now coming out into an environment, you see only what you can imagine. This is the part I cannot guide for you. I will not attempt to describe it. What you see is what only you see. Take a moment to see what you see. Let it get clearer. Look for details. Feel yourself moving until you come to a gateway, an opening, a door. There are 2 guardians on the side of this door. Perhaps there's only one guardian. There is a guardian at the door. What does that guardian look like to you? The guardian asks you what you seek. You tell them you seek to find your astral form. Either they allow you pass or they do not. Take a moment and enter the door with their permission and your own. If you find you are blocked from entering the door, this meditation may be over for you. You can stick around until we descend, or you can simply go your own way. Going through the door with permission from the guardian, you come into another environment that only you can see. In this environment you will travel until your form appears to you suddenly. Whatever being comes to mind, whatever outline, whatever shape, whatever concept, whatever being. Blessed are they be. You may only have quick dialogue as this is a fast meditation, but take what you have seen, whatever flash, whatever hint, whatever trace, as quickly as it was, take it with you. Understand you can turn into this form. Understand you can ride this form. Understand this form is you and is not you. This form will visit you in dreams. This form will be your companion, always has been, and will never cease to be. Say goodbye to your companion and walk back out, either the way you came or through a different exit, until you see the fog, the mist, the smoke, the clouds again. And you come to your doorway. You can feel the sense of speed. You're leaving so quickly. And it does have a density. And you're going down that stairway to the less thick environment and back to the room that you're in, back to the skin that you're in, as deep as it is, deep into yourself, back into your body. Ipsos. Was it good for you?
Oh, great, man. I'm a cat.
Sweet. I'm a cat with hawk wings.
Ah, I'm a pure white cat, just like my cat.
It's hard for
I
me.
really just visualize that extremely well.
It's hard for me when I guide, but the first time I went in, I'd never done anything like it. My form was a cheetah with hawk wings. It was like a sphinx. It was like this white, purpley
the new show's
sphinx. Yeah.
Time for us to go. Sorry for that. I just want to thank everybody for coming in, and thanks for watching us here on Just FM. I'm Debbz Den. You are, and how can people get a hold of you?
Oh, I'm Rebecca Johnston on Facebook with a CK. You can look up the Lethbridge Pagan Wiccan Network or the Alberta Esoteric Occult Network or Aeon and Love is the Law, Love Under Will. Do as thou wilts and blooms.
Very well. I just want to mention also that there is a seance tomorrow night at the Lethbridge Spiritualist Center.
Oh, you don't say.
And it's a seance, and it's a Victorian seance, and
really?
It is and it's $20 a person, and they sit down at the table and they bring in mediums or two mediums or a medium at your table, and they will bring in spirit for each and every person. So remember to make a date with who you want to bring in, and this is what they're doing for a fundraiser tomorrow.
I'd love to go see that. Where is that?
It's at the 425, which is just up the street here. 425 11th Street South. So just by that's a little white church between Tops Pizza and then you go down towards Spud Nuts.
Oh yeah, I know the
towards
one you're
Spud Nuts.
talking
There's a little white church there and art center.
Oh, the one on the right side.
Across from
the
the seniors place
going
there,
towards, okay.
So so that's just down the block. And then also I just wanted to mention that I'll be hosting the Meet Your Maker Market on November.
Church is willing to facilitate that. I'm sorry, but
the center actually rents it from the church. So
but still, for a seance, I'm surprised they're even. That's cool.
And it's all in the light and the love. I am hosting the Meet Your Maker Market on November 7th, and I'm hoping that you would come in and be a reader. It's going to be a psychic fair, so we're going to have people doing tarot. Actually, we don't have a tarot right now.
Oh yeah, you do.
Okay, we got you. Okay, we've got Rebecca. You can come in and do tarot with Rebecca. I do angel empowerment, crystal clearing. We have a tea leaf reader. We have a crystal ball.
I do have a friend who's a remarkable palmist.
Okay, I have a palmist already. I do have a palmist.
Good.
She's in, I think she's from Great Britain. And cool. And these people, the Meet Your Maker Market has been going on now for 8 years.
Meet Your Maker Market.
Meet Your Maker. Okay, it's really about crafts, but I mean like making artsy craftsy stuff, that too. But we are also turning this into more of a psychic fair because there is a lot of craft fairs.
And the interest is growing.
And it is. So we're looking to be expanding as Lethbridge's own healing psychic fair because we want healers. We're going to have Reiki practitioners, and we're going to do all kinds of modalities of healing and mediumship and divine ways of healing. So if you're interested in that, catch us on Debbz Den. If you see anything on Facebook, I'm going to have posters up around the city. So, and that will be at the Lethbridge Legion on Mare McGrath, where the plane is, on November 17th from 11 to 6. So we're running a little bit later times. Most markets start like 8 or 9 in the morning. Ours starts at 11, goes a little bit later till 6. And, it's actually pretty busy. So that's why we're bringing in more psychics because our psychics are very, very talented. And I know that you are in the background there. So if you're interested in that, please do get a hold of me. I am Debbz Den, DebbzDen.com. And you are, real quick again?
Oh, Rebecca Johnston or Soror Iris E. Look up my art page, and hopefully you've enjoyed the interview. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and we'll actually add those links in the back, in the bottom to this episode, this interview here. And I just want to thank you guys again. Have a fantastic weekend. Be safe on Halloween. Don't be crazy. And we're happy with this full moon energy. It's a good one, is it not? It was tense up until yesterday, and once the full moon happened, I just started to feel like, oh, now it's starting to get easier.
Yeah, Venus is on her way direct again.
Yeah, she's still in for a couple more days.
But on the way up and out, and that was the feeling of this full moon, was that up and out, like something is coming back around to some speed.
We got to go. We have a new crew coming in. Thanks for joining us. Let me see. Can I see over here? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to go. Thanks for coming on to Debbz Den. Bye. You're still on.